His consciousness was coming back slowly as Babidi touched his massive potato-like forehead. The headache was still unbearable though. But to his surprise, he wasn't the only one out cold, as Goku and Vegeta also looked rather rough. The Namekian child, Eska, had been taking care of them. The only one missing was Piccolo. When he then spotted Elder Mori looking at them all, he immediately demanded answers. He wanted to know what on earth, or Namek, had happened there.
Ugh, Elder! What happened? Why are they…
It seems like Moro has drained their energy. He and your sibling already have 3 Dragon Balls. Piccolo has fused with some of our warriors and aiding to try and stop them.
Of course he would. But Babidi, that annoying pipsqueak, bested him in a fight.
All right, move the kid. I need to wake those 2 fools up.
I don't think that would be wise. You are weakened by the fight yourself.
Babidi was irritated at this resistance.
And that's why I'm telling you to move the kid.
He knew that he didn't have that many spells left in his arsenal, but maybe he could do something else. At least try and bring these heroes back to consciousness with his restoration spells. He focused what power he had left. The 2 Saiyans rose up, sitting in their beds, looking around as if their skin had been burning.
Welcome to the world of the living. We have lost, for now.
He summarized the situation in his oh-so-tactful tone. Neither Goku or Vegeta were particularly happy to hear that, as they were still so weak, and they felt unable to help. It turned out that Moro was able to sense the key of the Namekians, and that's how he managed to find his way to the planet, and how he found the villagers without needing a dragon radar, which then prompted Goku to suggest that maybe they should try and evacuate their inhabitants, perhaps? Try and stop them? Meanwhile, Babidi took the time to try and prepare some spells, because Piccolo might be in trouble and he could do with some assistance.
The Namekian knows what he is doing. That damn Rambo will wreck you up, wizard.
Vegeta scoffing at Babidi.
I am not going to leave that buffoon alone. You 2, you go and get back your powers and do what you need to do. Do something useful. I will do my best to slow them down.
And as he prepared a couple of spells, he then decided to fly and find the main fight. And he wasn't disappointed. If anything, well, he seemed surprised by just how well Piccolo was doing and holding Moro off. How many Namekians did he fuse with? Well, hopefully enough. And Moro seemed to be enjoying himself within the scope of the challenge, of course. If this was his weaker version on display, Babidi did not want to see the full-powered one, but he hadn't seen his deranged twin yet, or the Freezer soldier anywhere. Had they fallen? But to his annoyance, it seems that Moro noticed him.
Oh my, your support appeared, Namekian. I must admit, I did not expect such a valiant defense. Babidi, what are you doing? Fall back! I've got this!
The wizard shook his head though.
I wouldn't be so sure, Piccolo.
Piccolo was doing decently against Moro, but then again, the Ram Man was still in good spirits, meaning he wasn't done yet. And as he saw him attempting to cast a big spell at Big Green, he then threw the Namekian at Babidi, interrupting the spell casting. The Potato Man felt that his ally had charged upon the Ram Man too soon, but he then was able to still land some hits, but before he was able to get back to his senses after being struck down by something large, much larger than himself, he then saw an arm through Piccolo's chest. So much for that advantage.
Sorry, lad. I don't have time to play with you 2.
Moro grinned and allowed Piccolo to fall down to the ground.
No.
Babidi flew towards the Namekian at great speed, using all of his remaining spells left to stabilize the big green character. Moro was busy getting away, but he had to keep this fool alive. He couldn't do both. He was his best friend. No, never mind. Luckily, he was able to see that both Miras and the Weathered Saiyans were approaching them at great speed. He hoped that maybe all of these people would be enough, and he was able to stabilize Piccolo's wound.
Damn it, it still wasn't enough.
The Namekian cursing.
Shush, don't you waste energy on pointless chit-chats.
Babidi hissing, levitating him back to the settlement. But what was even more surprising as they left was seeing Boo, except that it wasn't Boo. Not fully. He had the face of somebody that Babidi recognized from some of his deeply ingrained memories from a past life. Yes, it was the Grand Supreme Kai. Turns out he was still in there. Well, that would explain why he was so hard to control Boo when he was still the evil wizard. He shouldn't have been surprised, actually. After all, the patrol had told them that this might be the case, but I mean, what do they know, really? The Space Boy Scouts, all of them. He decided to get to Miris's ship, leaving Piccolo under the care of Mori, and saw a very pleasant view. Moro was losing to the Boo Supreme Kai hybrid. Hey, maybe this would be over soon. Babidi kind of actually got lost in the spectacle, only to realize that the sky was turning black, and he knew what that meant. Suddenly, he saw the almost humanoid-like shape of the Namekian dragon Porunga. But this was the first time he'd seen him in person, and wow, he was ripped! What was Shenron doing with all of that time? Wait, okay, focus. And of course, how could he be so blind? Babidi and that freezer goon had gathered all of them whilst they were busy with Moro. The wizard darted towards the dragon. Maybe he could stop the wish. But in his desperation and his desperate flight, he was halted by something when someone caught him by the cape. It was Moro, except he looked younger this time and in much better physical shape.
Well. Aren't you a resourceful little beggar? He grinned. I cannot let you interfere with my plans, laddie.
As Moro was about to strangle him with all of his newfound strength, thanks to his own cape, he was able to cast an immunity sphere around himself and closing within a Babidi-sized orb. The Rat Man chuckled and kicked the orb away. He had to accept that everything that had happened to Namek was a complete and utter shambles, a catastrophe. And later, Miris and the others discovered him floating somewhere. He could also feel as if something was draining energy from the planet itself. The legends were true, it seemed. The planet eater Moro had risen, and that was scary. If Moro could do that right now, After they gathered together, Babidi learnt a few things. Moro also had a third mysterious wish to hand, which, as they learned on the way to the Galactic Patrol HQ, was to liberate all the prisoners that were kept within the prison bases. I will admit that that was a little bit of a weird wish, but hey, there you go. But wait, they thought, that was it? Well, I mean, he was strong enough to do that himself. Why would he need a wish? Everyone felt that today could have gone a bit better. Vegeta then decided to train on planet Yardrat, hoping that he could find something that could defeat Moro. And as for Babidi, he hated that Babidi had bested him and that Moro had been toying with him. This was personal. He needed to find out more about his father's relationship with the Ram. Maybe there could be some clues, something helpful within there that could defeat him. But they had already checked his old tower. What else was there to find? He looked at Piccolo.
We need to find my father's old laboratory, the one where he created us. I'm pretty sure I can find something useful there.
It's been so long. Are you sure it still exists? The Namekian tilted his head.
Well, truth be told, I don't know. But we must find it.
He approached the Grand Supreme Kai. It was a weird thought he had, and he coughed loudly, but he had to ask it.
Oh? What is it, Babidi? How can I help you?
The head protruding from Boo's body, just leering at him. But asking in a friendly manner, it was a very weird juxtaposition, and apparently he wasn't holding a grudge.
Listen, I'm trying to be helpful, looking for ways in defeating Moro and his sidekick. Tell me, Grand Supreme Kai, do you remember where my father was when you two fought? Where his main base was? I made one of his towers my home, but I'm pretty sure that there's more to this.
The Kai pondered for a moment.
That is an excellent question. Some of my memories are rather blurry, but let me think.
Please, you must know something. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
There was a planet.
Grand Supreme Kai scratched his head.
Yes?
Derella. I think it was called Derella.
Miris looked sadly at Babidi with the news. Well, you won't have much luck there, wizard. Planet Derella was decimated by a cataclysm hundreds of years ago. I'm afraid to say there is nothing there.
We must check though. Piccolo, we have to. Maybe something still remains.
You heard the man. There's nothing left. The Namekian sighed.
Please, this is important.
Alright. I won't even bother saying I told you so.
Then Gia stepped out of line.
I can take them there, if it will help.
I don't know, Babidi. Are you sure about this?
Goku tilting his head.
There has to be a way. I need to know.
It would be a pleasure for me to pilot a vessel for you and your Namekian friend, brave wizard.
Gia saluting, irritating Babidi even more at the bureaucracy on display, but hey, it was help.
Fine, let's get this over with.
Piccolo sighed, wishing Goku and Vegeta good luck, as he, the wizard, and the patroller stepped into one of the many vessels that the Space Patrol had to provide. Babidi was still livid though, and still felt embarrassed because of the loss that he had suffered at the hands of both Babidi and Moro. Getting to planet Derella was not an easy task though, as it had been completely forgotten. Even more forgotten than planet Namek. I mean, who remembers non-habitable worlds? It was almost a miracle that Beerus hadn't destroyed this wretched world in the first place. It had been so forgotten that the guy who destroys planets for fun forgot about it. And Babidi was starting to think just how many towers and laboratories Babidi even had in the first place. This search task was going to be big. It turned out that Babidi was very careful in not leaving all of his memories in every single doppelganger. And what was even more irritating was that on the way, Gia was trying to entertain them by telling the story of his heroic antics on Earth. Also, his robot suit relied on water, so he and Piccolo had at least something in common.
So, about that,
Babidi interrupted them.
Technically, your people survive only on water, but I've seen you consuming food at those birthday parties. What's up with that?
Well, I started eating before I knew how my biology worked. I never felt any ill effects. I guess I have a social stomach or something.
Social stomach, eh? I never took you for a social type.
Piccolo shrugged.
The food tastes good. And a lot of it does contain water, so, I am actually getting satisfied. My kind can possess bodies. I heard that you were able to take over the minds of others as well, brave wizard.
That was the weirdest icebreaker that Babidi had ever heard, but okay. After a long and exhausting journey, they finally approached the planet. And planet Derella was indeed not looking very promising. It was, as you expected, large, dusty, and covered in a perpetual storm.
That doesn't look like we could find anything of note there.
Piccolo crossed his arms.
You patrol, robot man. Can you get the ship any closer?
Of course, brave wizard. We do have the scanners to be able to do it.
Well, great. Use those scanners and find any remaining structures.
I must warn you that this side of the storm is very remarkable. It might end up sucking us in.
Just do that and leave the thinking to me.
And the vessel descended lower and lower in order to scan the planet as best it could. Sadly, it turned out that this storm was indeed more formidable than they thought, causing way too much interference to make anything worth noting, which then prompted Babidi to order Gia to go even lower, and lower, and lower. Finally, the computer picked up something, somewhere in the northern hemisphere. But before the three adventurers could celebrate their discovery, they felt that they were starting to lose control over their vessel. Piccolo cursed, Babidi screamed, and Gia tried to keep them calm. But in the end, they fell into the storm. It was a crazy dance with nature, with several flashes, them being tossed around like toys. Babidi knew what he had to do.
I will stabilize the ship with magic, but I need to get outside.
Oh, are you insane? The storm will kill you!
Not if I'm careful about it.
And he cast a shield of elements on himself and flew outside. It was even scarier without the safety of the ship. The storm almost felt alive, as if it were deliberately attacking the craft. Babidi cast a few spells to help Gia regain control over the ship, but his magical shield was slowly fading away. After another moment, he realized that it was gone. Babidi was unsure of what was going on, but what he did know was that he was plummeting to the ground. Lights were dancing in his bulbous eyes, constant flashes, torrential rains of some unknown liquids that most likely weren't water. Babidi was in the eye of the storm, and he kept on falling. When he came to his senses, he was lying on warm sand, with the weather around him calm. The local sun was glistening in the sky and baking his forehead. He could hear the gentle sound of some mild waves. He then felt a beach towel under his back, and there was a sunbathing chair not so far away from him.
Piccolo? Gia? Hello?
Instead, he heard a coarse but somewhat squeaky voice.
Oh, you're finally awake. Good. I thought you were permanently damaged. Nice to see that I was wrong.
As he stood up to see who was the source of those words, he froze in place. The individual was about his size, with slightly darker skin. He was also looking much better fed. The top of his head was bald, just like in Babidi's case, but to the sides he had 2 tufts of longer hair. He also had sunglasses with a massive smile on his face, with his clothes having various plant motifs. On his neck, he was also wearing a wreath made of beautiful flowers.
Hi, little brother. Which one are you?
The stranger smiled gently. Babidi didn't want to speak. He was preparing for the worst.
Oh, if you're shy, then I shall start. My name is Babidi. I was the first, you see. The first? The oldest son of our father.
And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now.